So I want to welcome you and appreciate your being here for a session on cultivating compassion and conflict transformation. I'm Scott Brown in Paonia, Colorado. I want to introduce my co-facilitator, Diana Kubilos in Ventura. And Jewel is providing a little support, and she's up in the mountains in Crested Butte, Colorado. Um, So your name will not appear in the recording. I think you may already know that. And we are in for a 90-minute session. A lot of these morning sessions have been only an hour. We're planning 90 minutes for this one. Without a break, so please take care of yourself that way. And we're going to have a little grounding practice a little later. So we're just going to go ahead and dive right in. And I want to say a little bit about the Inner Resilience Network. Diana and myself are core members of that group. As Jules here, she's the coordinator. And we're about catalyzing and connecting local, national, and international efforts to promote personal and interpersonal resilience in this great turning toward a life-affirming worldview, life-affirming cultures and societies. And we feel that this work is quite pivotal to the overall mission of transition. And it's super easy to join. And we'll talk more about that at the end. There's an email list, and we're a small little team, and we really welcome new energy and new ways of approaching things. We have a lot of fun together, mixing it up. It's challenging stuff. And our session today, we're going to explore working definitions of conflict transformation and reflect on challenges and practices that support each of us in being agents of transformation. We'll have a breakout group and some time to debrief together. And we welcome your comments in the chat. And just as we go, because we all have something to contribute here. So we're trying to build in time to hear as many of your voices as we can. And we want to suggest some basic agreements for our time together. Agreements that support respect, safety, and comfort. And Jewel, if you can post those in the chat, that would be great. Jewel just posted some suggested agreements. Respect, confidentiality, deep listening, being brief. And if there's any other agreements, suggested agreements you would like to add, you can put those in the chat. You can kindly disregard the breakout group questions for now. We're just going to focus on a little bit of agreement setting, partly just to kind of model this piece a little bit, which I'm sure you're familiar with, but it's very foundational to actual conflict transformation work and scenarios, starting with the setting of agreements. And if this were an actual conflict transformation opportunity, we would want to see everybody's faces, of course, and we'd want to see hands. Yes, I agree to these agreements, so that they're actually agreements. And so I'll just ask you all if you can agree to these. Respect, confidentiality, deep listening, being brief. And anybody have any, I see the thumbs going. Anybody have any disagreements? really just doesn't meet your need for safety and ease and being here. Great. Thank you. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Diana.
Thank you, Scott, and good morning, everyone. Well, it's morning, it's 8 a.m. here in California, and just really grateful to be with you all. Been really grateful for the summit and some of the beautiful topics and connections, and thank you for your interest in this topic of conflict, building compassionate connections and conflict transformation, which, yeah, as Scott already mentioned, and I'm guessing is one of the things that brought you all here, that in this vital, vital work that we do in transition toward that great turning that Scott spoke of, we run against those very human challenges, yeah? So what I'm gonna share is just three sort of like rememberings, things that support me, just kind of reminders in conflict transformation work. The first one, I'll start with a quote. It's nonviolent communication based, for those of you who have that background, and for those that don't, just presenting that. And I'll start with a quote by the founder of nonviolent communication, which to me, this quote really frames very beautifully a practice that has supported me so well, so strongly in my conflict transformation journey. And the quote is, we all want to play the connection game, but we've been taught the I'm right game. And how so often it's judgments that lead to separation, yeah, that culture of separation. And I think what so many of us are longing for is moving toward a culture of connection and collaboration. And so in nonviolent communication, we learn to translate. We give ourselves empathy for those judgments that we experience, and at the same time, we translate. So for example, something that really supports me is when I'm in a room in a group of folk and there's tension, that I like there's a teacher who says, follow the tension to the needs. So if we're feeling tension, to either stop within ourselves and say, oh, what's underneath this tension? What am I really needing and longing for underneath this tension? And if we're in a group, we practice this in the Inner Resilience Network. We even have agreements around it. Is just taking that pause, being able to stop and just say, hey, folks, I'm noticing a little tension. Can we take a minute, or whatever works for you? So just that's one that really supports me. And just one more thing that I want to say on that, translating judgments to needs, is that it can really, in my experience, help us move from that either or thinking that we can sometimes, find ourselves in, toward that yes and kind of language, which can so well support, in my experience, that kind of collaborative culture. And just two more comments before I pass it on to Scott. And I guess the kind of underlying and the core one for me, and for so many of you, I imagine, for so many people who are in this work, is remembering that it all starts with self-compassion, yeah? That self-connection and self-compassion, and that slowing down when things get difficult to connect with ourselves. And the last one is just an invitation and a reminder, maybe just something that supported me and that I actually am celebrating, that recently I've made progress in. So I want to share that with y'all, that taking the time to have those challenging conversations, and that's something we speak of. Scott actually has a line that I appreciate so much, and it's being willing to work through the messiness, yeah? And so I recently, I've really just taken the time to have those challenging conversations with folks with whom I've noticed tension, and wow, it's just been so enriching. And so just, yeah, just an invitation for us all. There's just so much going on, and as activists, I feel so much compassion. We are dealing with really heavy things. And so these are just some things that have supported me, and probably many of you. I don't think these are new things, but again, just maybe some rememberings and framings that can support us. And I'll pass it over to Scott. Thank you.
I'm looking at the time, and I'm going to pass it back to you to ask the question that they're going to respond to in the chat, and I'll put it in the chat because that's kind of where we're at in our agenda already.
Thank you, Scott. Yeah, so we wanted to start by diving into, before we get into actual practices that support us, what are some of the challenges? Thank you, Margaret. What are some of the, and I do need to apologize. I had some tech issues, so I'm on my phone. So please just wave or let Scott know if you have a comment or need to say something. But anyway, so the question for y'all, if you can share in the chat since it's a larger group, is what are some of the core challenges in this area of conflict transformation that often come up for you, or some of the key ones that tend to kind of those boulders that, you know, sometimes get in the way of the journey. So if anyone who's called could take a minute to reflect and then share in the chat, that would be lovely. Thank you.
Let's go ahead and share. Yeah, we thought we'd just kind of peruse these together, get a sense of the flavor. Having a big conflict with my organization right now. We are navigating, figuring out how to just do the work while working through this conflict. Finding common ground and a path forward between people that are on different sides of issues, red versus blue, fear of being accused of racist, sexist, ableist, or other oppressive attitudes when feeling the need to raise difficult issues, concerns of achieving resolution, when people don't share their concerns in the group or with the individual involved, rather behind their backs with secrets and whispers. It's a challenge to stand firm but respectful, that I will mess it up and make things more tense, that I will get emotional, that as a result, they will sever the relationship. Feelings, frightened, not safe, threatened. Yeah, this is big stuff. Diana, do you want to what do you want to reflect back from that?
Well, I want to first of all thank you all. I mean, some of you were in the session with I think both of us were there, actually, Jules, Scott, and I, on vulnerability, and I think that just can help open up so much when we're vulnerable. And yeah, that one about worrying about how we will show up if we share, you know, some of our concerns, etc. So again, starting with that self peace, that self care, and how challenging some of these issues can be. And slowing down, I think, is for me one of those reminders. But Scott, go ahead if there's anything else that you want to add.
Just to underscore that, you know, this is the vulnerable underbelly of transition. And there's a quote that I love, that vulnerability is the engine of human maturation. So rather than something to fear in the new paradigm that we're trying to bring to life, it's actually something to embrace, and it's challenging. So yeah, and keeping our eyes on the prize, right? Conflict transformation deepens relationships, makes them more authentic. It strengthens organizations. So while it can be hard, while we may want to avoid it, there's a huge payoff if we lean into it. Other voices, who would like to comment? Please just unmute yourself.
I think a lot of us, or I guess I should just say me, especially as a woman, we're told, you know, you don't know anything, don't say anything. So a lot of times, no matter what I say, even when I really value what I think I'm advocating for, if people criticize me, I get really hurt, and I'm very sensitive to it. And then I don't know if I'm too much, basically. So anyway. Yeah, and exactly. I've done that with people who are idling their car, and I'll say, I'll try to be polite, and then it's like, uh-oh. Anyway, that's all. You called on me, so I spoke.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much. For me, there was a lot of richness in there as well. So thank you, Margaret. And that whole idea of that, yeah, that individualistic culture that many of us have been raised in, what, many of us call the dominator culture, and shifting more to the collaborative, the challenges around that. And then the other piece that I heard you share around, yeah, questioning ourselves and is my voice too much? And those kind of things that many of us have also been taught those messages. So yeah, thank you for sharing some of these challenges and kind of opening that door to, this work. So yeah, Scott, do you want to add anything before we?
Well, I'm hoping we can touch on self-empathy a little bit later, and that comes up for me as a as an ongoing practice in this deep underbelly work, vulnerable work. But Diane, I think it's time to go to the grounding practice.
Thank you, Scott. So I am going to share a practice that many of you may know. I find it, the reason I chose to share this particular one is I find it to be one of the most kind of simple and accessible in this nonviolent communication kind of framing. And when things are tense, I think we all know that we need something that is, yeah, easy to grab onto, so to speak. And it's called Breath, Body, Needs. So I will go through the steps, and what I would ask you to do before we start is, in order to practice using this when we're facing, a challenging or a tense situation, is bring to mind a mild, not too intense, because we don't have a lot of time to hold folks's um, stuff. We don't, our space is short today, but just a mild tension that came up recently, if you have one, and yeah, just bring that to mind, and any judgments or that tension and those judgments that came up around that kind of mild conflict that you dealt with recently. And then as you kind of hold that, if you're willing, if you're not, we'll just go through the process. That's fine too. And so I'm going to just guide us through a very brief version of this breath, body, needs. And again, the idea is to go to work on this translation practice of seeing what's underneath the needs. One of my favorite lines is Marvin Gaye's, "What's going on?" So like, what's really going on underneath these judgments and this tension that I have, yeah? So if you all could, just get comfortable and in a way that works for you. If you need to turn your video off, that's fine, or that's great. So let's start with a few deep breaths. A few deep, calming breaths. And the breath can help us come to presence and get centered in our bodies. And for me, it's a reminder of that life energy inside of us, the breath. So that's the first kind of level. And then we move, for those of you who would like, putting our hand on our heart, if that supports. And the second step is body. What's going on in my body? What am I feeling? Either sensations, physical sensations that you're experiencing, and or the named feelings. Is there tension? Is there sadness? Yeah, the feelings associated with that tension that you brought to mind. And just giving ourselves a little bit of compassion for that very human experience, these feelings and challenges that can come up when we're facing these difficult moments. And as we breathe and acknowledge those feelings, hopefully noticing a bit of calming and opening. And then the last step is needs. For many people, this identifying and acknowledging the feelings can then help us get in touch with what's underneath, what's going on underneath those feelings. What are my deep longings related to this issue, this challenge? Is it for understanding? Is it for care? Is it for, kind of a collectivity, like a community kind of care? What's going on? What are my deep longings and values that I'm really holding and longing for underneath these feelings? So maybe just we don't have time to do, we only have time for a brief experience of this, but maybe just give yourselves, again, that breathing in, that acknowledgement for you having taken the space for this. I thank you. And just kind of maybe naming those needs and holding those as we move forward. Thank you. Thank you all. And I'll pass it back to you, Scott.
Yeah, let's just take another minute to transition. I just want to appreciate the practice, Diana. Very foundational, in my view.
Yeah, I would like to thank you all again. I'm mindful of, just, the care that you all took in being here, caring about this issue. And to me, this is the self-compassion piece. This is starting with ourselves and that self-awareness practice. Mind. Oh, sorry, if you don't mind posting it, Scott, it's breath, body, needs. Thank you for that question. It helps to repeat. Yeah, breath, body, needs. So thank you all again for your willingness to join. Hope that served a bit. And again, I'll give it back to you, Scott.
Okay. Yeah. We are planning some breakout groups, and I am not seeing that option in my menu. And I know Jewel, who's out there providing some technical support, may not have that option either. So,
What's going on, Scott?
We're not able to set up breakout groups.
Oh,
I don't
never.
think, because they're just, the option isn't showing up in the menu for some reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure it out, Scott, right now. Give me a couple minutes.
Okay. Well, we'll go ahead and set up what we had intended. And we'll just see if we can get it figured out. And if not, we'll just roll. We'll just pretend we're in groups of 3 or something. But the intention was to give you some questions, and I will post those in the chat really quickly here. 2 questions. That are intended to just support your exploration of your process around becoming an agent of transformation, to keep it in the heart, to keep it in this tender, really foundational place of longings and intention, and to give you a chance to share with each other about your process and your responses to the questions. We're going to take 20 minutes for this. In groups of 3 was our intention, and have a debrief time afterwards. So why don't you just take a moment and just reflect on your responses to these questions now, and we will see if we can get breakout room um, capability. What are some of your deepest longings in this area of conflict transformation? That's question one. So really just starting with that one.
Scott, did you want us to put him in the chat?
Yeah, you can put them in the chat, and I guess in lieu of having breakout groups, we can just invite you to chime in as well. Why don't we just take another 30 seconds to just really sit with the question? It's, and again, this is a very hard.
Scott,
Yeah.
try to turn off the recording. See if that helps.
Zoom the recording. And why don't people just feel free to share their responses in the chat or verbally? Just unmute, or you can raise a hand. We have a couple minutes for just a closing practice before our close. And I did hit the record button so we can get our closing on the record. So I just want to invite you, we only have a few minutes for this, but there's been a lot that's been shared today, and I just invite you to tune in to what's alive for you right now in this moment. Just bringing your awareness down into the body, the heart, the belly, feeling your wholeness. Celebrating this ability to be present and conscious. And just notice what you notice right now. Notice what's alive in you right now. If there's a need or a longing that feels met, a sense of satisfaction, let yourself celebrate that. If there's a need or a longing that doesn't feel met and satisfied, just bring some self-empathy to that, just some acknowledgement. I think Diana mentioned that these needs, these longings, this is life energy moving through us. This is how life energy shows up in our humanness. When we embrace our needs and longings as life energy, it really connects us to the cosmos, to the earth. So just a few more deep breaths here. Maybe really deepening that breath for the last couple, just really filling the lungs fully, and lower chest cavity, the upper chest. Just bringing in some energy, letting that shift your state of consciousness to become present to this moment, because we're gonna shift into our close. So thank you for engaging in that. I'm going to share my screen, and gonna have a look at the portal that was created for the summit. And specifically, we're going to go into the heart space that's there. So if you go into the home page on the portal, go down to spaces, scroll down, you will find the heart space, which the Inner Resilience Network has created for you and all the participants in the summit. And we wanted to underscore this. And Jewel, if you're there, there's a place for you to chime in here. My understanding is we want to find a way to keep spaces like the heart space going, conversations like these going after the summit. So there's quite a few people in this heart space. I'm assuming quite a few of you may be in there. And it's here for your use. And there's already some great posts that you can read and comment on and engage in. Jules got a post here. What is one thing that is a little risky, a little vulnerable, that you are willing to share and be seen with love and compassion? So there's an invitation to deepen our connections and continue to cultivate the heart space. So if there's anything that comes up for you in this session or any sessions, here's the place to post that, just right at the top. So I think that's all I wanted to do there. Jewel, do you want to add anything about the plan for continuing the conversations?
Yeah, I'm in a really noisy place, so is it okay? Can you hear me okay, or is it kind of weird?
Yeah, go
Okay,
for it.
okay. Um, yeah, I just put in the chat, we've got the ongoing practice groups, so those are live heart spaces where we can come together, like Scott and Diana are going to be starting a monthly practice group for this type of work. And then we have the Connection Cafe, which is every third Monday, which the topics change, but it's really a heartful space. It's wonderful. We're really building a nice community there. So join us there if you want to have kind of real-time connection. And then as far as ongoing online connection, the Heart Space is planning to continue after the summit, and we may build on it in other ways. So thank you.
Thank you, Jewel. And yeah, sounds like a lively coffee shop there in Crested Butte.
Sorry.
So I did post in the chat. There's the link to the Inner Resilience Network website, the specific link to the kinds of cafes and groups, and the survey link. So Diana, you're up for your
Since we just have a few minutes, I will give you my gratefulness first, and then we want to hear from you all some key takeaways. that you have. So just a couple things I want to say. First of all, just deep, deep gratefulness, a deep bow of gratefulness to each and every one of you for being here and sharing. And for me, it's also so beautiful to see folks committed to this inner and interpersonal work. That's what the inner resilience, is founded upon. That is the groundwork, that we need to do for this cultural, this great turning, this transition work, whatever it is you call it. So thank you for that. And then the other one is just for me, it's always a reminder of that collectivity, the beauty of that, how each of you brought something just so rich and beautiful. So thank you for that enrichment. So deep, deep gratefulness. And in these, well, if Scott has a gratefulness, you can share that now or at the end, Scott, let me know. But what we wanted to do was open the last few minutes up to either in the chat, or if we could hear a few voices, that would be beautiful. Just what are you taking away? I mean, any feedback, of course, is welcome. And in this moment, we also would like to focus on hearing what it is you might be taking away from today, taking forward with you. So Scott, would you like to share first before the group shares, or you want to wait till the end?
Yeah, well, I'd love to hear other voices and
Okay, great.
see you in the chat. So
EP, go ahead.
Thank you. I hear that being vulnerable and understanding other people is helpful for maintaining a connection, but I'm having a hard time finding a place to be very strong and confident too. That's my feedback. That's what I'm taking away. So I don't need any comments, but that's where I'm at.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Mm. Mm. Mm.
I'm grateful for this this time that we've spent together. Thank you, and I'm taking away a sense of peace, which is very precious to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie. Anyone who hasn't spoken, we only have another minute. Jen.
Hey there, just a general sense of gratitude for the spaces that the folks with inner resilience are sharing with us. It is such an amazing counterbalance to the other work that can be challenging, and it gives me so much hope, and I feel revived after every session with you all. So I really appreciate your energy. Thank you so much.
Dita, please. Did you raise your hand, Dita?
I was resonating.
Oh,
I was resonating.
okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. It's really hope bringing.
Likewise.
Yeah, thank you, Dita. Well, let's go ahead and just to so Diana and I are offering through the IRN. I think there was a brief mention of it. I want to just underscore it again. A ongoing practice group, second Thursday of the month, starting in October, on cultivating compassion and transforming conflict. So we really invite you to join us there. And I did post that link a little earlier to the cafes and events section of the IRN website. And I will be back Tuesday morning here at the summit to lead a session on healing dialogue, where I'm going to offer a very specific practice related to taking 100% responsibility in a conversation with someone. So I hope to see you there for that. And we're at time. So thank you all very much for being here. Really appreciate it. It felt really rich to me. So hope to see you again here at the summit and beyond.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody.